I saw this King Thor outfit reveal last year, I knew I had to do something from this game, so obviously I started with his hammer. Immediately I started to search for any references I could from trailers, promo images and stuff, and I ended up in Fusion 360. I never really made any full-size, finished props in Fusion before, except for some, simple shapes, badge-like objects with simple flat extrusions, but since this hammer shape wasn't very complex, I thought, what the hell, maybe I will be able to do it. It's just a couple of extrusions, engravings, and that's it. So I spent a couple of days on it with trial and error, and I think I kind of nailed it. You get it? Nailed it because it's a hammer. I think my bad jokes and accent will be the worst part of this video, so it can only get better from here. But yeah, going back to the build. 3D printing, yes, I printed it in PETG because I wanted to finish it or sand it with some electric tools. It's a shame not to use them with such flat surface. Or at least that's the official version. The reality is this PETG roll was giving me some crazy stringing, so I thought that I'd waste it on this giant heavy hammerhead. But as it turned out, except for some slight warping at the base, it was not such a waste. And what's more, not only I managed to use up all of this red stringy filament, but I had to supply it with some other PETG that was also very stringy. I wanted to see how long it would take me to sand one of the sides by hand, so I grabbed some 60 grit sandpaper and sanded it for maybe 20 minutes without finishing it. And guess what? Off camera I grabbed some palm sander, I held it over for maybe 3 or 4 seconds at one spot and all of the layer lines were gone. It was crazy. Big shout out to Frankly Build and his Iron Man build. It really changed my sanding game forever. But going back to what's going on the video, just a while back you saw me gluing the sides of the hammer, and as you can tell, it's empty inside. What I was thinking at first was perhaps filling it with something, but then I thought that perhaps someone would like to buy a hammer like that, and just a little bit of weight can change the shipping costs very much when it's going overseas or abroad, so I wanted to test out how much would an empty hammer weigh. It weighs a little bit over 1 kilogram, more specifically about 1 kilogram and 150 grams. What I was just doing with the sandpaper is getting, I believe, 220 and then 400 before giving it another primer coat. Actually, it's a primer filler. Now I used some wood filler to fill the support spots that I couldn't fill in any other way, and I'm going over all of that with 800 grit sandpaper. Now it's time for weathering, which in this case is just punching the floor with the hammer, giving it some nice dents, scratches and all of the good stuff. Now I know what you are all thinking, why am I not using primer before putting on the chrome paint? The first thing is I kind of want to have some slight discolorations because of uneven priming, and that's why I used this chrome decorative paint. This decorative paint actually has a primer in itself and it doesn't require any primer, so it's kind of even anyway. And it's not really useful for me for any other projects, because after putting this chrome on, no other paint can go over it. It will just not stick. And it actually looks quite close to the game hammer, which looks wet all the time. It's really weird. On the other hand, the top cap, the stuff with all the runes and the thing I am now gluing to the PCV pipe, in the game it looks like it's from some completely different material or metal. It reflects light differently. It's almost like it has some matte finish or something like that. You won't be able to tell on the video because my camera couldn't quite catch it, but I painted it with some automotive silver paint, which looks completely different than the decorative chrome I used, and I also gave it a wipe with some Scotch-Brite to make it more matte. But yeah, like I said, sadly you won't be able to see it in the video, but trust me, in the real life the shade is completely different and it reflects the light completely differently. Now there came the time to fill up all those nooks and crannies I made during my gracious weathering. It's just watered down black acrylic paint that I'm wiping over the places I want it to be. I'm also tapping it slightly with some painted paper towel. Now I started to wrap the handle with some fake vinyl leather, and you know what? This was actually way too seamless, this worked too well. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to show where all the wrapping is, so to overcome it I decided to first wash it with some watered down brown paint and then give some slight wash with some darker paint. Then I grabbed some sandpaper and I started to lightly push it against the vinyl, so only the most, not recessed, but you know, all the highlights, all the areas that are the furthest would show up better, and I think it actually worked quite well. Now I am painting a leather strap that goes just below the hammerhead. There it is, already glued. And now I am trying to get my head around how am I going to wrap this thin leather strap around the handle. At first I thought I had it in my head, yeah, I'm going to do it, I remember how it is, for sure. But then I had to use this small cord that you saw as a template because I wasn't really sure then about my ability to do it straight from head. The only small detail I actually missed in that build, or not really missed, but I had no idea how to do it, was some even more strapping going over these straps. You know, in the places where the straps overlap each other. In the game there is another even smaller strap that goes over and under it, but it was way too complex for me. And now we are going to braiding. I really had no idea how to braid it with 4 straps before. I literally learned it overnight and it just kind of suddenly came to me. I watched perhaps 10 tutorials how to do it. I was defeated, I had no idea how, but then I looked at it for maybe 10 minutes and suddenly I just knew how to do it, and there it is. Now I'm gluing some fake fur to the leather strap and we are actually kind of finishing here. Now this is a detail that I really made up on the fly, because I had no idea how to do it, and I noticed it on the last day I planned to build it. I gathered some tools I had laying around the shop and actually freehanded all of it. So it's not exactly perfect, but it looks really convincing to me. Now I am gluing it. To attach the strap securely, I first pulled some of the leftover strap through to the inside of the PVC pipe. I turned it around to double it, so it would kind of collapse on itself, if that's the right phrase, and I tied it down with some zip tie so it wouldn't came out, because now it's bigger on the inside than the hole that it came through. And now let's watch some finishing shots. Thank you for watching. I hope that if you are still here you enjoyed the video. Maybe you'd like to check out my Instagram, and let me just tell you this: thank you for bearing with my accent. You know how it is, I spend over half of my life listening to English, but I kind of realized that I don't get many opportunities to speak it, so my speaking skills get kinda rusty. But now I decided to maybe speak a little more in my videos to practice, improve, and not let it get rusty again. So thank you for bearing with me. Some words of encouragement would be really helpful, because I kind of cringe when I hear myself, since I know how the words are supposed to sound, but I can't quite get them to sound like this. Thank you again for watching. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Thanks.